Have you ever wondered if the human soul has weight? If so, does a person's body become lighter when the soul leaves it? Throughout history, across various cultures and philosophical traditions, the concept of the human soul has been pondered and debated. Is it merely an abstract metaphysical entity, or does it possess physicality? The ancient Egyptians, for instance, believed that the soul, or ka, was a tangible entity that resided in the heart and departed the body upon death. The Greeks, on the other hand, saw the soul or psyche as an immortal essence, but did not necessarily attribute physical weight to it. This intrigue about the soul's physicality was not confined to antiquity. Fast forward to the early 20th century, the question was taken up in a more scientific context by American physician Dr. Duncan McDougall. Driven by a mix of curiosity and audacity, Dr. McDougall sought to measure the weight of the human soul. His experiment, now famously known as the 21 grams experiment, consisted of 6 patients on their deathbeds positioned on a specially designed weighing bed. Dr. McDougall hypothesized that at the moment of death, if the soul indeed had a physical presence, it would depart the body and cause a corresponding drop in weight. Now you might be thinking, why 21 grams? Well, in his experiment, McDougall claimed that the average weight loss upon death, which he attributed to the soul's departure, was approximately 21 grams. A fascinating notion, isn't it? But as you can imagine, this claim ignited a firestorm of debate and controversy in scientific and religious circles alike. So the question remains, did Dr. McDougall's experiment prove that the soul has weight? Let's delve deeper. Dr. Duncan McDougall, a physician from Haverhill, Massachusetts, conducted an experiment in 1907 to determine if the soul has weight. An ambitious venture, you might say, and one that would require some very careful planning and execution. To conduct his experiment, McDougall selected 6 patients in the final stages of terminal illness, each residing in an old age home. His method was to place each patient, bed and all, on an industrial-sized scale that was sensitive to the gram. He then monitored and recorded the weight of each patient as they approached their final moments, and immediately after they passed away. The idea was to pinpoint any immediate loss of weight at the moment of death. Now, it's important to note that McDougall took into account all possible factors that could influence the weight change. He considered the weight of the air in the lungs, bodily fluids, and even gases leaving the body. After meticulously accounting for these factors, he was left with a weight that he argued could only be attributed to the departing soul. So what were the results? McDougall reported that there was indeed a weight loss at the moment of death. In 5 of the 6 patients, there was an immediate drop of approximately 21 grams. Hence, the experiment became known as the 21 grams experiment. McDougall concluded that this weight loss could not be explained by any known physical processes, and therefore it must be the weight of the soul departing the body. He proposed that the soul had physical weight, and his experiment was considered by some as proof of the soul's existence. However, his findings were met with a mix of fascination and skepticism. Critics questioned the scientific validity of the experiment, citing issues with the sample size, methodology, and the subjective interpretation of the results. McDougall's findings stirred both intrigue and controversy, but can we consider his experiment as a definitive proof? As we delve deeper into the critiques and modern perspectives on the soul's weight, we'll discover that the answer to this question is not as straightforward as it may seem. Like any scientific study, McDougall's experiment was not without its critics. When we delve deeper into the world of science, we find that McDougall's 21 grams experiment was met with a variety of criticisms. Many of these criticisms, interestingly enough, were focused on the methodology used in the experiment. Let's start with the sample size. McDougall's experiment was based on a mere 6 patients. In the realm of scientific research, this is a significantly small number to draw any concrete conclusions from. Larger sample sizes are generally preferred as they provide a broader, more reliable basis for results. Next, we come to the lack of a control group. In scientific experiments, a control group is used to minimize the effects of variables other than the independent variable. This ensures that any observed effects can be attributed to the manipulation of the independent variable alone. In the case of McDougall's experiment, the absence of a control group raises questions about the validity of the findings. Another major criticism was the unverifiable nature of the experiment. The nature of the soul, as we know, is a topic that has been debated for centuries. McDougall's attempt to measure the weight of the soul was based on the assumption that the soul has a physical manifestation that can be measured. This assumption, however, is not universally accepted and cannot be scientifically verified. Lastly, let's talk about reproducibility. In science, an experiment's results must be reproducible under the same conditions for them to be deemed reliable. However, McDougall's experiment has proven difficult to replicate, further casting doubt on its findings. All these factors combined paint a picture of an experiment that, while intriguing and unique in its approach, lacked the rigorous scientific methodology required to provide definitive proof. While McDougall's experiment was intriguing, it seems that it lacked the rigorous scientific methodology necessary for definitive proof. In today's scientific community, the concept of the soul's weight is largely considered a matter of philosophy rather than science. As we delve into the 21st century, it's clear that the question of the soul's weight has taken a back seat in scientific discussions. Why is this, you might wonder? The shift from dualism to monism in scientific thought plays a significant role in this change. Dualism, a philosophy dating back to the likes of René Descartes, posits a clear separation between the mind and the body. The soul, in this view, could be considered a quantifiable entity separate from the physical body. On the other hand, monism proposes that the mind and body are not distinct, but rather two facets of the same entity. From this perspective, the concept of a soul separate from the body becomes challenging to uphold, let alone measure. Modern neuroscience contributes to this shift towards monism. It views the mind and consciousness as emergent properties of the complex interactions within our brain's network of neurons. In essence, our thoughts, emotions, and sense of self are seen as products of physical processes, not some ethereal soul. What does the current scientific consensus say on the topic? Well, the majority of scientists are hesitant to engage with the question of the soul's weight. Not because it's irrelevant, but because it's difficult to approach with the tools and methods of empirical science. The soul, as it is understood in religious, philosophical, or cultural contexts, doesn't lend itself to measurement or quantification. In the end, the question of the soul's weight straddles the line between science and philosophy. It's a query that challenges us to reflect on the nature of our existence and the boundaries of our understanding. So, while the question is fascinating, it seems that we are no closer to a definitive answer. The question of the soul's weight remains one of the many mysteries about human existence that science has yet to unravel. As we delve into the depths of this enigma, let's take a moment to revisit the intriguing points we've touched on thus far. We embarked on this journey with a look at the concept of the soul's weight, a notion that has sparked curiosity and debate for centuries. We then stepped into the shoes of Dr. Duncan McDougall and his infamous 21 grams experiment, an endeavor that attempted to quantify the weight of the human soul. Although McDougall's results were highly publicized, they were also the subject of much criticism, leading us into our discussion of the various critiques of the 21 grams experiment. The scientific community has largely dismissed McDougall's findings due to the lack of empirical evidence and the methodological flaws in his experiment. Yet despite the criticisms, the question of the soul's weight continues to captivate our curiosity and sparks discussions that extend beyond the realm of science. This enigma finds itself at the crossroads of science, philosophy, religion, and metaphysics. It raises questions about the nature of the soul and our understanding of the physical and non-physical aspects of human existence. Does the soul have a physical presence, and if it does, can it be measured? Or is the soul a concept beyond the grasp of physical measurements, residing purely in the realms of spirituality and consciousness? The pursuit of these questions and the exploration of such mysteries are what drive us forward, pushing the boundaries of our understanding and knowledge. Each question we ask, each experiment we conduct, and each theory we propose brings us one step closer to unraveling the secrets of our existence. While we may not have a definitive answer, the exploration of such questions continues to push the boundaries of our understanding and knowledge. As we journey through the labyrinth of life's mysteries, let's continue to question, to explore, and to seek out the answers that lie just beyond our reach.